Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Koziel. I'm a staff attorney with the Legal Aid Society's domestic violence team of the Safety and Family Practice Group. I'm here today with my client, Bianca, who has proven to be the strongest and most resilient client that I've had in my almost 10 years of practice. She first came to us through our Safe Families program. We helped her get an order of protection after her husband had beat her in front of her children and was arrested and charged with domestic battery. After a very long trial process, he was found guilty of domestic battery. Bianca was able to get a 1-year order of protection. But her husband was extremely unrealistic in his expectations as to seeing the children. He refused to have any parenting time, insisting that Bianca and the kids live with him, even though by that point he hadn't seen the kids for about 2 years. So after she got her protective order of protection, we jumped in on her divorce case. And as I was preparing all the documents to initiate the case, I noticed that there was a child support order that had been entered about a year prior that her husband hadn't abided by for about 8 months. And by that time, he was about $13,000 in arrears. And so I brought it to the attention of the court. We tried to enforce it. He refused to pay, insisting again that the children live with him. So he was eventually incarcerated because he continued to refuse to pay. And throughout the divorce proceedings, he continued to be unrealistic and unreasonable. He continued to say he was not going to pay child support. He refused any parenting time, again, insisting that the children live with him. He filed numerous motions for residential custody and to modify his child support obligation. But after filing the motions, he wouldn't show up at the date that the motion was set to be heard in front of the judge. And prior to our involvement, Bianca had to go to these dates on her own. And so it was very emotionally taxing and all obviously affected her ability to work. He also continued to harass her through social media, making numerous really intimidating posts directed towards Bianca. And we were able to support her and help her enforce the order of protection throughout. As we know, the pandemic has really changed the way that we work, and for us in particular, the way that we practice in court. About mid-March, the courts were closed and most proceedings stopped. By that time, we had filed a motion to extend Bianca's order of protection. We were set to be in front of the judge at the end of March, which is when her order was set to expire. Obviously, that couldn't happen. So I had to coordinate with a lot of court staff to ensure that her order remained in effect until at least the courts reopened so she could provide her reasons to the judge as to why she wanted the extension. Mid-May, this proved to be very difficult. Mid-May, Bianca called me and said that her husband the night before had found out where she lived, gone to her house and threatened to kill her. The police were called. He was arrested for violating the order, and unfortunately, the next morning he was released because the charges were dropped. The court told Bianca that her order of protection had expired when it in fact had not. So I had to start calling around to everyone. I spoke with numerous court staff, multiple sheriff's offices, even the arresting officers, trying to figure out what happened. And after days of nearly constant phone calls and emails, we eventually found out that a clerical error had caused the miscommunication with the court. And obviously we were able to get that fixed, thank God. And through all that advocacy, through our hard work and particularly the work of Bianca, we were able to secure a 1-year order of protection for her. So now it expires about midsummer next year. Now I have to say, I'm a lawyer and I have access to numerous resources and I have a ton of support. And I found it almost impossible to navigate the post-pandemic world. And I cannot imagine what it must be like for victims such as Bianca who have to do this on their own. And I'll just say in closing that it has been more than a pleasure to represent Bianca. I've been more than impressed with her progress and improvement, with her persistence to break the cycle of violence. She's exemplary, and it's been a true honor to represent her. Bianca, thank you so much for allowing us to help you.
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys a lot. I'm grateful for Metropolitan Services and Family and the Legal Aid Society because it's hard. It's a very difficult thing to go through domestic violence, and I didn't know where to go, what to do, who to talk to. So when I started, I went to downtown and started there, and that's when I met you guys. And that's when the young lady there, she told me, hey, we're going to get this started. We're going to get your order of protection. We're going to get everything going. And then that's when everything just kind of seemed like it went awry. But it seemed like you're like my little superwoman that came in and saved the day. You were patient with me. You listened to everything I had to say. You understood what was going on. You was like, no, it's not fair. You don't deserve that. Even though plenty of times I was like, no, I give up. I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be bothered. Okay, whatever he wants, let's just do it. You're just like, no, that's not how this works. we're not gonna let him get away with that. Everyone that worked on your team, when you left me for a while for maternity leave, they were extremely helpful. They were like, okay, so this is what we're gonna do. When we had to go to court, and you wasn't able to be there, they were there for me. They still gave me support, and they gave me courage to say, hey, look, this needs to be done. No, don't give up. No, don't stop the process. Keep going, keep going. That's one thing I am beyond grateful about, because there were plenty of times I threw my hands up, threw the towel in, laid on the ground, said, hey, I give up. And no one there said, sure, that's what we're going to do. They was like, no, we're going to keep fighting. I didn't know I suffered from PTSD. When you told me, it's like, Bianca, I think you're suffering from PTSD. I want you to talk to somebody. We argued about it a little bit. You're like, no, go talk to someone. It's okay to talk to somebody. And I did. And I went to, I talked to the young lady, and it helped a lot. It gave me a lot of courage. It gave me strength. It gave me a vision of that. I don't have to go through so much turmoil. I don't have to go through him picking at me. I don't have to go through him threatening me. I don't have to go through walking around every day with looking over my shoulder. And even Miriam now, she still gives me the strength to say, hey, stop being so hard on yourself. Stop allowing things that happened to me in the past to say, give up. And I continue to beat myself up. She says, no, don't do that. Don't let that get to you. Keep going. Yes, it's a fight. It's a struggle, but you're doing good as a person. You're doing good as a mom. You're doing good as a human being in general, because most people wouldn't make it through this. And we've been doing this for what? Almost 3 years now?
That's a long time.
It's been a long road, and I'm beyond grateful. I wouldn't be able to afford the services, so I'm beyond grateful for that part. And just everyone on your team, you and Ralph and Angel, Miriam, everybody there, they've been there to support me. And it's hard to have a support system when you go through something like this, because you lose everybody that you think you have. And that's one thing that Metropolitan Family Services did not do. No one gave up on me like I gave up on myself. And I don't think I would have survived this far. I think probably like 2 years ago, I've been like, all right, fine, whatever. I don't care. Let it be. So I am beyond grateful for the services. I appreciate you and the services that you provide. And I will recommend anyone who needs help, who is in fear. And mental abuse is not just physical. It's mental, spiritual, and physical. And if you feel that way with being in a relationship with somebody, go talk to somebody. Find help in any form or fashion. So I thank you guys a ton. Thank you.
Bianca, that was truly inspirational. And I'm really happy that you were able to not only get services through LAS, but also through MFS, through the Victims Legal Assistance Network program. And actually, from what I've heard, and I'm not surprised by this at all, you've made immense progress towards ending the cycle of violence. And, I'm truly inspired by you.